Hello and welcome to the Patrick Chapman Show. I'm Patrick Chapman and here we go. So it's been a long time since I made one of these. It was back when Emir was here in October. So here it is December, middle of December now. I think it's the 12th today. Saturday, beautiful weather we've been having. Like warm and sunny. Not all the time sunny, but generally warm the last few days. Really, this week has been great. And we had some snow, actually. We had a big snowfall in November, a couple of weeks ago. But, I mean, now it's back to, like, spring weather. So I don't think we're going to have a white Christmas, but there's still a little bit of time, and it can change in 1 minute, honestly. So who knows what will happen. Generally, though, I notice, the Christmases are not snowy, usually, anymore. Sometimes you might get lucky, and the winters are pretty mild. But you always see in the Christmas movies, it's just coming down snow. You know, the Polish ones are set mainly in Warsaw, and so we were watching Listido M the other night. Great movie. I don't remember which number they got. I think they made 5 of them now, and it might be 6. And we have the first 3, maybe 4. And so I think we were watching number 4. But anyway, all of them, the snow was just falling and falling and falling. The whole movie, day after day, a lot of snow. And it's just not true anymore. Anyway, what am I talking about? Yeah, we're getting ready for Christmas, so that's coming. We're going to talk about that a little bit because I want to talk about Vigilia. But the main topic... Oh, I want to start with this. The main topic is going to be Radom, but before I get there, I wanted to say this. I was out today with my son, Tomasz. We're at the White Bear Cafe here in Legnica, and we walk out, we're walking home. A lot of people are out. It's a very festive atmosphere, Friday evening, all the Christmas decorations and lights, and it's a dark night, a clear, no wind, so it's a little cool. It's below freezing, but there's no wind, so it's plenty nice. It's very nice. Walking through the square, and I wasn't even paying attention. I'm not even looking. I don't recognize anybody, but all of a sudden I hear, hello, basically, in Polish. And Tomasz starts talking to somebody, and it turns out to be his friend from his old school, and his friend's mom, Ula. And so we chit-chat a bit, and that's I just love that. I love bumping into people and saying hi. It's cool. I just always love that, and it happens quite often. So then another thing happened. We went home after we talked a bit. Tomasz and I went home and just had a quick break, very quick break, and went back out and went to Biedronka, the supermarket. And we walked in and started packing up our stuff into the basket. Fruit first, I think, because that always hits us first there, bananas and whatnot. So, and I hear somebody speaking English. It's a little girl, quite a young girl, and I hear some English, and that always, pricks my ears, let's say. So I'm thinking, okay, pay attention, because maybe as I go through the store, I might get a chance to see who it is, or say, get up and strike up a conversation, right? And that's exactly what happened. So, we do all our shopping, we go through all the aisles and get stuff, and we got the loaded basket now, our little cart. And I hear the girl again, and I say, are you from England? And she says, no, we're from Ireland. And then her papa is there. So I talked to him. His name's Peter. We chit-chat a bit. He's got a language school here too, so he's teaching English. And it was just cool. It was cool to meet him, and so we swapped cards, and maybe we'll get in touch with each other and go out for coffee or something in the near future. And it was good. We had a good little chat. So I met somebody I knew in the square, and then I met somebody I didn't know, like a stranger, and in the supermarket. So that's just kind of cool. And then I have to admit, too, there was another time I got a phone call from a guy named Steve Reed, I think is his name, and he's here in Legnica. And hello, Steve Reed, if you're out there. I hope he's listening, because I lost his phone number. He called me. We went out for coffee. Just a stranger out of the blue, but he's in Legnica, and he's from England, and he wanted to, he knew I was like an an English teacher or something, or not totally Polish. And so he wanted to meet me, and we did. We went out for coffee, and then I tried to call him one time after that, I think, but it turned out he was in Germany at that moment. And then and then I changed phones. I got rid of my old phone, I got a new phone, and in that process, I lost his number. But it's not just that. It's like I have 3 kids. I'm busy. It's just, I'm sorry. I feel guilty about it. I feel guilty. I just can't keep in touch with everybody. And I met his wife too once by accident in that Biedronka, the same Biedronka. She heard me speak in English to my kids, and she introduced herself, and that was cool. So, I feel so guilty. This was years ago. This is, years ago. I don't know how many years ago. All right, let's get to the topic of the day. No, let's not. Let's go to this other thing, which is quick story before we get to Radom. This week, a few days ago, we had some American soldiers come to our high school here where I teach, the Zawisza Czarni, and so it's a military academy, and so we had the soldiers come in. There were, I don't know, I forget if there were 11 or 10. Let's say 10 because that's an easy number to remember. So, plus or minus 10 soldiers came, and there was only one girl in the group, so one lady soldier. And the first thing, we had a kind of a program for them. They had plenty of free time, so we could spend the whole day. And the first part of the program was a presentation by some of our students in English, and they did a really good job talking about like Poland after communism and how the big changes happened, and that kind of little era there with the Solidarność movement and everything, and Lech Wałęsa. And that whole little history, and joining NATO, and joining the European Union, and kind of the little bit of the economic situation, and stuff like that. And so, the students did a good job. And it's great practice for them, So, after that, the soldiers answered questions, basically, I think. Instead of a little question and answer time. And then we broke off into groups where 2 or 3 of the soldiers would go into a classroom with a smaller group, and then they would have another question and answer session. And I took part in one of those, and that was also good. It's just good conversation and great practice for my students, because they talk to me in English, but it's good to get other voices, other opinions, other points of view on things. And so that was a good time and good experience at that school for the students. I think it's really valuable. And not just for the English, but they're learning about the Army and stuff, and the United States. What state are you from? Some of these people were from Puerto Rico. I don't know anything about Puerto Rico, and I told them, I'm like, I remember West Side Story, and they talk about the PRs, and in New York. But so in Puerto Rico is kind of an interesting place because they speak Spanish there. And we always talk about it, like Donald Trump's always talking about English being the official language of America, and it's not. I don't think it should be. And Puerto Rico's, also part of America. It's a territory. They speak Spanish, but they learn English and they learn it in the schools. But in the homes they speak Spanish, and so it was kind of neat to meet those people. There was like a group of them. Like I think 3 of the people were from Puerto Rico. That was interesting. Okay, and then a couple of the guys were from Wisconsin, and I like Wisconsin, so we had a little bit to talk about there. And then, okay, the next thing, part of the program was we went down to the gym and played first volleyball and then basketball. I didn't play, I watched, but they started out with the volleyball, and after warming up, it was the Polish guys, the students, against the American soldiers. But not for very long. I think they lasted about 4 points, and when it was 4-0 and obvious that the Americans were going to get killed, They just weren't up to it. They weren't good. The Polish guys. Polish people take volleyball seriously. I mean, when I was in Dobiegniew, Leszek, my old friend, and his friends, they played serious volleyball, and that was a small town. So, I mean, the Polish people really are into that sport, and they have the best team in the world. The men's team and the women's team is also very good. I don't know about right at this moment if they're number one, but both of them are near number one if they aren't actually. So it was not going to be fun. It wasn't going to be fun. So the coach stopped the match and mixed the teams. So then they played with mixed teams with the Poles and the Americans mixed, and it went much better. And then they switched to basketball, and the Americans were much better. Not better than the Poles, but much better than themselves at volleyball. Like they played basketball much better than they played volleyball. So you could see that they had played basketball, they knew what they were doing, they could handle the ball, and the girl played, the lady soldier played, she was short, she's Hispanic, a short Hispanic woman. I think her last name was Hernandez, and she made one move, and the whole gym was just awed, like, wow, did she just do that? And it started out, I'll try to explain it, without the instant replay or even the delayed replay or the slow motion replay. But she basically stole the ball right after a pass, I think, near the other team's basket. So first she like picked the guy's pocket, and then she kind of spun because she was in traffic, getting near under the goal, and as she came out of her spin, she did a layup, and the ball went right in. The whole motion of it was like she knew exactly where to step, how to turn. Ball goes up, ball goes in the hoop, and great move. So that was one little cool thing. But the Polacks still won. They beat us. They beat the Americans. I mean, I'm on both teams. I can't lose. I can't lose. So the Americans played well, but the Polish team won, I think. I didn't hear the final score, but it just seemed like the other team scored more points. So good. So that was just a lot of fun. And then, after basketball, and they got cleaned up and whatnot, we took pictures, and then we took a walk through the town, kind of a tour, and at first it looked like I was going to be the tour guide. But I was very happy when one of the students kind of took over, because he's from Legnica. And I mean, I could have done it, but I was happy to have him do it, and he was happy to do it. So we looked around some of the sites in downtown Legnica, and I think that was pretty good. And then I had to go. I had work to do. I had lessons later that day, so I had to go all the way back to the school fast after 2 o'clock. Get my bag and my coat. I had my coat. I had to get my bag and my bike, and then ride home, and then have a little break and keep teaching. Okay, so anyway, good time with the soldiers. It was great meeting them, and I think my students got a lot out of it. Good. Okie dokie. Now we can go to Radom, because that's the topic of today, and I don't know if I have a lot to say about it, actually. Let me just start with the little facts. Radom is a city maybe about the size of Legnica, or maybe even smaller. I don't know. Not very big. It's like surrounded with Warsaw to the north. It's kind of central in Poland. Central and a little bit to the east, maybe a little bit to the south. Like southeast central. So it's got Warsaw to the north, Łódź to the left, and Łódź is central. Łódź is, if you threw a dart at the Polish map, the map of Poland, you would hit Łódź if you hit the bullseye. Łódź is in the bullseye. And then you got Kielce to the south, and then to the east is Lublin. Lublin's all the way on the border. So those are the 4 cities it's kind of surrounded by. It's got an old gun factory, which it's known for, and I think it's still in production, in business, producing guns. And it's got a new airport, a big international airport, which might turn out to be a white elephant. I want to say a white elephant. They may have overspent on that thing. It's very close to the Warsaw airport, So we're going to see as the years go by whether that actually gets a lot of use and is a good investment or a white elephant. We will see. So I spent 3 summers in Radom working as a resource teacher for the Peace Corps because I had already been teaching, and so they could use me as like a helper basically. And for the resource teachers it was 5 weeks. So we were there for 5 weeks to help out, and we were assigned to, I don't know, a few students, 2 or 3, and maybe we changed during the time, like halfway through or something. Anyway, we would help the trainees prepare lessons, and then we would monitor their lessons and watch them and make notes and help them improve. And that was my job, basically. And then come with the next lesson plan, show them how to use the books, you know. And there's a lot of little things to learn about teaching that is not automatic. And for some people, they do it more naturally. Like, we've all had teachers. What am I going to tell you about teaching when you've already gone through school? You know, we've all gone through school. We've had good teachers and bad teachers. So basically, we're trying to help them to be the best teachers they can be before they actually go off and start teaching. So this is like, it's called a practicum, where the students, young kids from the town, from the community, come for free lessons in the summertime. They get free English lessons. And for that, the teachers get to practice on them. So they're basically using them as, you know, guinea pigs or practice material to have some practice lessons. When I did it, I was so nervous. I didn't know how to teach. I didn't know what to teach. What am I going to do for 45 minutes? You know, okay, the first minute, all right, got that done. And now? Like, you know, so it was tough. From my group, there was a guy named Curtis Funk. Was that his name? Curtis Funk. Big guy. He had been a teacher in the States, and he really helped me with my first lesson plan or 2. He was just another trainee like me, but he had real teaching experience. It was a bit nerve-wracking. Okay, so yeah, I spent 3 summers there, and the first summer was right before I took a new job, because I had just gotten out of the Peace Corps, and I was transitioning from Dobiegniew going to Bielsko-Biała, where I was going to be teaching in a college, and it was a teacher training college. So at this college, the students learn how to teach English. It's for languages. There was also a German department. I'm trying to remember if there was French or something else. I don't remember. But I know there was German, and there was, of course, English. So my students would be becoming English teachers, theoretically. I kind of advised them to not be teachers if they could find anything else to do, and only about half of them actually wanted to teach. They wanted to learn English and then go on to other things, but some of them wanted to be teachers, and they were very serious. And this was the top college in Bielsko-Biała. I guess I've talked about Bielsko-Biała already, so maybe I already mentioned all that. In any case, this was before I was going to do this. So you know how it is before you start a new job, and then something I'd never really done before. I'd been teaching high school for 3 years. Now I'm going to go teach college. And I knew I was going to teach conversation, because that's obvious, kind of. But I was also going to teach American culture and history. History and culture mix, like history and culture. So I think that was all I was going to be teaching at that moment. So I was preparing for that, and I had a great opportunity in Radom, because here I am surrounded by teachers and people who had taught in these colleges and had gone through these colleges as students, and I could just get great advice. I could pick their brains, and I did. And I also went back to the States that summer, if I'm right. I don't know if it was that summer. I think there was one summer that usually I would go back to the States in the summers. Maybe not every summer, but at one point I was going to try to show it, but I have it here. I'm not going to take it out. I bought a game because back in California, where I used to live before I joined the Peace Corps, we would have game nights with my friends, you know, and we'd play games. And one of the games we played was Taboo. And it was such a great game. It was so much fun. I recommend it if you've never played it. And I decided that that would be a great game for lessons, you know, because you have to speak English, you have to speak. You can't use any gestures or anything, or rhymes, you know, according to the rules. You have to explain what a word is, like pen. You know, what is a pen? And so and then you're also learning vocabulary, like pen. So you're learning vocabulary and you're getting speaking practice. So it's a great game, and the kids liked it, you know. So I knew it would be great, so I bought that in Chicago, and I brought it, and it turned out to be a great teaching tool. And I still use it to this day. So that was 1997. That was about 1997. Also in that year, 1997, it was also the year of the flood, big flood in Poland. It didn't actually flood in Radom, but we had a lot of rain. So you get the summer heat plus the rain, and you get a lot of mosquitoes, and you get the grass growing high. And then the Radom was not a rich city in those days. I don't know how it's doing now, but they didn't have a lot of money. So they didn't really cut the grass, at least not very fast. So you get a lot of tall grass and a lot of mosquitoes and more rain, and then the heat and the rain and the mosquitoes and the grass. Just, wow, that was a wet summer. Now, the flooding occurred in like Wrocław and here in Legnica, but I didn't live in Legnica at that time. So I remember one thing with the mosquitoes that summer. We were just out in the backyard, kind of between all the buildings. There was like a yard out on the grass, probably having an ognisko. And the mosquitoes were bugging. It's not, you can't have fun when they're just, you know, they're all over the place, and you keep slapping them and killing them, and it's just not fun. And you want to have fun because you're there having the bonfire party, and you got a case of beer or whatever, and you're talking and having fun, but you got the mosquitoes. So there was this guy from Alaska. The guy, I don't remember his name, but he was, and maybe he had been in the army, or he had some military connection or something, because he had this stuff in a bottle. It was mosquito repellent. And I mean, you put one drop on your back, like back here, and they stop bothering you. They go away. They don't like that stuff. I think I'm surprised I don't have cancer yet. Maybe I do, but if I do, it might be from that stuff, because it was powerful, man. It worked, and that's for the Army. The Army uses that. So it's like high potency stuff. And we each just put one drop, and they're a bunch of people. And so he shared that with us, and that was a great thing, man. The mosquitoes were gone. I don't know what that stuff was. It wasn't off, not even deep woods off. Another time we had another ognisko. This is because I'm mixing all the years now. I was there for 3 years, so I don't remember which year was which and what we did. But I'm on the theme of the ogniskos now. The ognisko, that's a bonfire party, right? So we got the bonfire parties, and we'd have one at least once a year, and maybe more. I don't remember. But at one of them, this was kind of during the daytime, I remember, because the sun was still shining, and I think we had 2 big fires, like near, like, you know, several meters away from each other, like one over here, because there's so many people. We had invited all the American host families and all the students, you know, the young students who were going through the practicum, and all of us, and everybody was there. So a lot of people. And at one point, this American man, he was older than me, kind of an older guy, probably a trainee. He was almost crying. He was so upset. He was so upset because he had seen, I came to find out when he told the story, he had seen a woman, like one of these Polish moms, or maybe one of the babchas, filling up her purse with sausage. So she's just stealing sausage, you know, and the Americans had put on this party for everybody, and you could have free sausage, but you're supposed to cook it there and eat it. You're not supposed to fill up your bag and bring it home. This American guy was so upset when he saw it. He's like, she's stealing from us. Like, Welcome to Poland. It's one of those funny, but it's like tragic comic. It's tragic comic. It's tragic. It is comic. Yeah. So that was that. Another time, and this might be a combination of them. Nobody had prepared much. There was no like sticks, for putting the kielbasa on or whatever. And my friend Agnieszka was there, and she and I did all the work preparing everything. That's when the mosquitoes were there too. But another time, Chris Mrozowski was there, and he told the story about how he had been kidnapped in Turkey and then put in prison. They put him in a prison, him and his girlfriend. And I got to tell this story too, because I'm not going to tell the whole story about going to the prison, because that's his story to tell. But I was in Dobiegniew, and I was at one of the block apartments, little block apartment of a friend of mine, this family that I had come to know. And so I'm sitting on the chair, and they served me coffee, and they got the television on as usual. And I don't speak much Polish, but we're kind of chit-chatting or whatever. I'm just visiting, and we're having a good time, as always. And so I pick up a magazine, one of these TV guide types, like some kind of TV guide or one of these little magazines, let's say, it's not this, but let's say it's this, right? And I'm just thumbing through it, I'm like flipping and looking, another picture over here, another picture over there. And I flip and I see Chris Mrozowski's face. I didn't know his last name. To me, he was also always cross-cultural Chris, because he was the leader of the culture teaching department of the Polish Peace Corps group. I think that's what his title was, exactly that. So he was always a cross-cultural Chris, and I never knew his last name. And I'm looking at him, and I'm like, that's Chris. And I'm looking, and it says Krzysztof and his last name, but I didn't know it was his last name. So I'm like, his name's Krzysztof, so that's kind of like Chris, so maybe that's him. It looks a lot like him, but I don't know. So I'm thinking, if it is him, it's going to be some light story about the Peace Corps or this American who's also in Poland and blah, or something like that, or teaching English or whatever, right? So I start reading. And my Polish is really weak, but I'm kind of picking out words here and there. And it slowly, but very slowly, kind of dawns on me that this is not a light story. Something happened here. Like they're explaining like something about Turkey. I'm like, Turkey's, and I knew this guy liked to travel. And Turkey could be a dangerous place. I don't know. And I come to realize that this is a serious story. And something happened later, after I'd read that. Chris, by this time he had returned to Poland and everything was all right, and he wrote the story in one of the newsletters that they sent out with the Peace Corps. They sent to all of us once a week or once a month. I don't remember. But so Chris wrote the whole story down, and that was, I think he did. At least he told bits of it. Some of it, because now we're at the Ognisko, and I think I had already known that part of the story. So here he is sitting there, and I asked him, and I just started asking questions, and he opened up about it and told us the whole story. So he had been kidnapped, and then released by his captors, and then caught by the police and put in prison. And it was, if I remember right, it was a lucky thing he knew how to speak French or something, and he just happened to be able to make a phone call and to an embassy or someplace, and just spoke enough to let them know that he was there and who he was and where he was. And then the diplomats could do the rest of the work and get him out. But otherwise, who knows where you are? Well, how can they figure out, how do you know how long you're going to be there? Scary situation. But so that was at one of these Ogniskos in Radom. So a lot of stuff going on, actually. And interesting things if you're patient and you wait for it and you can put up with the mosquitoes. So, what else we got? I'm just looking at my notes here. I don't like to look at my notes too much because then I forget. I I forget to say stuff that's not in the notes. So sometimes I'm better just shooting off and going with my thoughts here. Okay, am I rambling? Am I rambling? Ramble on. Here we go. Right. Okay, there were 2 bars there. So there was the training site, and then there was a bar very near the training site, and we called that the near bar. And then just like 10 meters farther down the road, or maybe 20 meters, there was another bar, and that one was called the far bar. It wasn't really named that, that's what we called it. I don't know who came up with that. It doesn't matter, that's what it became known as. There was the near bar and the far bar, and I don't know why. But for some reason, the far bar was the more attractive of the two. It was the more popular one. It was the one everybody went to in the evenings or the afternoons. And sometimes we would go to the near bar. I remember being there, but I remember more times being at the far bar, and there's no good explanation that I can think of. Somehow it just became the place, as places do. So lucky for them, they sold a lot of beer. I can tell you that. I don't know how much money you make selling beer, but maybe you make a little. You must make some. So we would hang out there after work, and that was a lot of fun, good place. And then very often in the afternoons, we would go out and play soccer. There was a soccer field not far away, and that was fun. I love playing soccer. It's not my sport. I'm not good at it, and I don't think any of the Americans were good at it. But it was fun to run around and play and kick the ball and whatnot. But more fun for me was when instead of soccer, we would go to the gym and play basketball. That's a little more my speed, and I like basketball better. So we would have really, really a lot of fun with the sports. And that's great because I like sports. Okay. I think... What else we got about? Oh, presentations. Yeah, so as a resource teacher, not only did I take care of my trainees that were assigned to me, but I also had to give some presentations, like 1 or 2 demonstrations or presentations on how to teach. And some of these were very helpful for me when I was a trainee. So one of them that I learned that was demonstrated to me when I was a trainee, I suppose, was how to do a one-day debate. I don't remember who did it, who presented it, but somebody showed us how to run a one-day debate in your lesson, even if you only got 45 minutes. It's a little bit better maybe if you have an hour and a half, which in the colleges they usually have an hour and a half, but in the high schools you got 45 minutes, so you got to be fast. So I decided to show this also to my group, and I had a big group of people. I mean, there were, if I remember right, and I think I do, there were 33 people in this crowded place. I mean, it was just big enough to fit 33 people in. And so, I think I titled the presentation Applied Intercourse. Anyway, so I showed them how to do a debate, and the way you do it is, first, you got to teach the Polish people how to raise your hand, because they don't know how to raise your hand. You ask a Polish person, or a group, you say, okay, everybody, I don't know, everybody who has a dog, raise your hand if you have a dog, and they'll do this. And you can hardly see my hand. I'm like, they'll put their hand up like that, if you can see that. I don't know if you can see that. Just a little bit. So their hand is kind of up, but if I'm the teacher, I don't know if I can see that or not. I might miss you, you know. But they're suspicious. They don't know why you want to know if I have a dog. Like, what are you going to do with this information? So they're very shy. You know, they don't, like, the Americans are more like remember Arnold Horshack? Like, you know, choose me. And so you got to train the Polish students how to raise their hands. You know, like put your ear in your armpit, right? So that's the first thing you got to train them. And then it's got to be a top secret vote. So top secret means you put your head down on your arm on the desk with your eyes closed. And before you do that, you put a statement on the board. And they're going to vote to either agree with the statement or disagree with the statement. Or they can vote, I don't know, or I'm not sure, right? So you got those 3 categories. Yes, no, I don't know. You put up the statement on the board. you give them a minute to think about it, and they're not supposed to go, oh yeah, or no, that's stupid. They can't do anything like that. They're not supposed to. Then they put their heads down, close their eyes, and then you read the statement again, and then you ask how many people agree, and they raise their hands, hopefully like this, not like this. You count them, you put the number up, you say, okay, how many people disagree, you count them, and then how many people don't know if you agree or disagree, and you count them, and hopefully you get 3 groups. And they don't have to be even groups. They could be, there could be only one guy who disagrees. It's not perfect. You want them as even as possible. It's just better that way. But they don't have to be even. You can have a really good debate when one guy doesn't agree, or does agree and everybody else doesn't, or whatever. Okay, then you put them into groups as to those categories. So all the people who agree come together, people who disagree come together, people who don't know come together. And then they each have a little piece of paper, and they write down their reasons for why they think it's true, or why they don't think it's true, or some pluses, some minuses, if they're in their I don't know group, like maybe yes, maybe no, and why. And they're supposed to come up with 5, but if it's not 5, if it's 4 or even 3, that's okay. But the point is, these are going to be their talking points when later they split up into groups where they're a mix of some, at least one agree, at least one disagree, and at least one I don't know, if you have that many. And then maybe more, if as the case may be. So, okay, I got this big group of 33 people, and the reason I remember it was 33 is I got a perfect 11 split. And I was so happy with that. It's like I picked the perfect topic. And the topic, it might not work today because the times have changed, because this was a long time ago. But the topic was something like bicycle riders should be required by law to wear a helmet, to wear helmets or a helmet, to wear a helmet. And that's where I got a third agreed, a third didn't agree, and a third didn't know. It was a great topic. We had a great debate. But that was good for the Americans. There are topics that are better for Americans, and there are different topics you would use for Polish. In those days, now it would be different, but in those days, none of the Polacks would have agreed, I think. I think almost none. In any case, it was a good demonstration though. I didn't always have good ones, but that was probably the best one. Okay, let's move on to the next thing. I remember watching the World Cup. When I came to Poland, it was '94, and that was the year that the World Cup was in America. And so we saw a bit of that on TV, and the American team played. They didn't play well because we don't really play soccer. So then this would have been 4 years later. '98 would have been the next World Cup, and I remember watching that. I remember there was a chess tournament where one guy came in. It might have been Chris Morozowski who brought him in. I don't know, but this chess player came to visit, and I don't know if he was like maybe one of these guys from Russia or something, but he was like a master, like a great chess player. And I like chess now. I didn't play it much then, and I certainly wasn't. Even now, I'm not on that level. But these other guys, anybody who wanted to, could sit down, and they made a circle of tables, so you could sit down at the table, anywhere along the circle, with a board in front of you, and set it up. And then this guy was in the middle of the circle, and he would just walk around. He'd go up to one board, make a move to the next board, make a move to the next board, and he's playing about 10 games at one time. And then while he's walking around, you're looking at the board, getting your move ready, right? So you make your move, and then he comes around, and then he sees the board, and he makes his move. And then he keeps going, and you make your move. So you're playing one game, he's playing 10 games. I don't think he lost a game. I think he won all of them. But it was a cool thing to see, like, wow, I never would have imagined that or thought about it. But it was a great idea, and it worked very well. Everybody had fun, and it was a great challenge for him and for the other guys. So, good chess tournament. There was a woman named Eva, and I don't remember her last name. Forgive me, Eva. I hope you're watching. Her name started with S, I think. And she was one of the coordinators or teachers or Peace Corps people, right? One of the Peace Corps people, Polish, Eva. And she gave a presentation, and I just remember one thing she said because I wrote it down, and I don't think she came up with this. I think she took it from somebody. But anyway, it's a great little quote, and for a teacher, and it says this. It goes like this: "Tell me I forget, show me I remember, involve me I understand." So I thought that was pretty cool. I wrote that down, and I've always kept it. Good. Okay. Okay, and do I have anything else to say about Radom? I don't think so. I think I'm done. So I had 3 good summers there. Really, really fun. There might be some other stories in there somewhere, but I think I'll be done with it there, because there's some other things I wanted to talk about. But that was the main topic of the day. So hello to Radom, all the people in Radom who are watching. I haven't been there in a long time now. Okay. So anytime you have a workman come over to your house, like an electrician or just any kind of worker, like to fix something or repair, or, or paint or whatever, anything they're going to do, these workmen, some of them will come, and especially the older ones from the older generation, and especially if they're working for the government, which some of them do. And in our old apartment, there was like a government-run thing, So basically, almost like public housing, So, and if it was one of those guys, forget it. They would come in with their muddy boots or their shoes, and they walk all over your house, and they don't care. And they're kind of even almost proud of it. Like, yeah, what are you going to tell me? Yeah, I'm a blue collar guy, I'm working, and kind of, I don't know, kind of being not that nice, honestly. And so you never know what to work with. And another trick they do, and I noticed this from our good guy, my friend Anjay, who did all the renovations at our old place, and he's got golden hands. He can do everything. He calls himself like a bricklayer, but he's a bricklayer who doesn't just put bricks down. He can like build something, or do all the electricity, the plumbing. He can do everything, and he does it very well. He'll really spend the time to get something done right. So Anjay was a good guy. And just a quick aside, Anjay is also the one who built a boat in his basement, and then it was too big to get out. That's another story. I heard about that one. I didn't see it, but I heard about it. He built a boat in his basement, and then he couldn't get it out of the basement. Anyway, but that's just a little aside. The thing about Anjay is, I noticed if he looked at something, like let's say he's going to take the boiler off the wall and then replace it with a new one or something. So he's taking the boiler off the wall, and he'll complain about who put this boiler up, who put this up, who connected this electrical connection, who installed this, What was this guy thinking? He didn't know what he was doing. And the first time you hear that, you're like, oh, he must know what he's doing, that other guy must have been kind of bad. This guy, Anjay, knows what he's doing. He's obvious. But then, you get another workman, he does the same thing. He's complaining about the previous guy. They all do that. They'll all look at if you're going to replace the light fixture in your room. Oh, who put this in there? Didn't know what he's doing, All of them do that. And it's just a trick to kind of get you on their emotional side or something. I don't know. But it works. It works the first time or the second time, maybe. But after that, I caught on. I'm like, okay, you guys are just saying that to look good. And they all do it. Okay, so the reason I'm talking about these workmen is that we had an electrician come in about a week ago, plus minus. So this guy that was recommended to me by my friend Daniel, so he was going to come, but I had to go out. I was going out, and this guy's supposed to come. So I go downstairs to get my bicycle, and as I'm opening up the garage, there's a van outside, and it looks like it's probably the guy. I'd never seen him, but this looks like probably the guy that's going to my apartment upstairs. And so he goes and gets his tool bag and whatnot. He goes up to the door, and he wipes his feet. I mean, and he really wiped them, like to get them clean, not just kind of like what do you call it, for show or something. He like wiped his feet well. I'm like, wow, that was weird. He's a young guy too. I'm like, okay, maybe it's the new generation. And then later when I got back, I told my wife that he wiped his feet, and she said, yeah. And she actually complimented the guy that had worked before him, that had installed all the things. You know, he said so. He turned out to be a really, really good guy. It looks like. Now we're waiting for him to get back to us, but these guys are so busy. He might not get back to us till after the holidays. There's these guys. I told my sons that they should keep in mind, you know, an electrician would not be a bad job. They're busy, they make a lot of money, and they know stuff. You know, they know how to fix stuff. So I think it might be a good job for the future. Okay, I got at least 2 more things to say, and then we'll be done. In the school where I teach, good school, Zawisza Czarny, and we got kids from all over Poland. I mean, we got some from Warsaw, some from up on the coast sometimes. So people come and they stay in the dormitory then. And so put a plug out there for my school, Zawisza Czarny, which means the Black Knight, which is a real person from history, I guess, like a Polish knight from the days of knights. And when knights were bold. And I don't know if it's like a mythical thing or a real thing, kind of like King Arthur or something, but Zawisza Czarny. So, I'm in there and I'm in my lesson with this one group, and we're supposed to have a quiz of some kind or another. I think vocabulary quiz. And so they're not ready. But I've prepped them for it, but they're already asking me if they can take the makeup quiz, which is a Polish thing. It's not an American thing. In Poland, let's say you take a quiz and you fail it, or even if you're just not happy with the grade, like you get a C instead of a B or an A, but you don't want the C, you want the B or the A, you have the right to retake it. And it's just such a waste of time. And I'm like, because as an American, I'm thinking, just either fail it, and that's okay, you think I never failed anything, or study and pass it, you know, get the A or the C, you know. But why do we have to make it up? What would he talk? Just take the next one, you know. It's such a waste of time. But this is my philosophy against, you know, like when in Rome, do as the Romans do, right? So I should learn and just say, okay, everybody, we'll take it. But the funny thing is, they're talking about the makeup test, and I haven't even handed out the quiz yet. They haven't taken it. How do you know? But they already know they're not ready, I guess. Anyway, they hate me too, because to the extent I can, I don't let them take the makeup test. And they get so angry. Anyway, that's a little Polish educational culture where, the makeup, man, the second chances in Poland, it's a little bit ridiculous. And yeah. Okay, the last thing is this point. The Polish government has decided that Wigilia, which is Christmas Eve will now be a national holiday. And I think it's a bad maneuver because, because it already is almost a holiday. It's kind of a holiday where everybody treats it as a holiday. In other words, if you're working, your boss is going to go easy on you. He'll probably let you go home at half a day, maybe not, but there's not going to be a lot of work done on that day, probably. Now, if you're working in one of the supermarkets, that's the example they all use for the reason. Like, oh, but what about the poor supermarket workers at Biedronka? You know, they have to work on Wigilia. Oh, well, just don't work. Take the day off, or quit. You know, you're free to quit. Don't you like your job? If you don't like your job, don't do your job. You know, go home and have dinner. So For students, it's a free day anyway. Students don't, and that means teachers don't go to school. So I don't have to work on Vigilia. I never had to work. So, and they could have not wasted a holiday on that day, which already is kind of a holiday. I realize it's stressful for some people, but they could have chosen any other day of the year and had a holiday. And that would have been better. Yeah, also, you like to go out and buy that last loaf of bread or that last present. Sometimes you're short one present, or you want to get I don't know, maybe the stocking stuffers or something. And that's the day where you're the last chance to get that last. Because the next 2 days, the 25th and the 26th, are both holidays. That's not true in America. Not to mention the fact that in America, things are open on Christmas Day. You can usually find something open. I think that's true. And certainly the day after Christmas, the 26th, everything's open. So, but in Poland, everything's closed for 2 days. Now you got to stock up. Now you're going to have to stock up for 3 days without any shops open. So, I think it's a bad decision. I would not go with that. Yeah. One more quick point on the government, because just today, or yesterday, my older son told me that the government is going to try to keep people not allow Bitcoin or these cryptocurrencies, and I'm like, I don't know anything about cryptocurrency. I don't have any. I wish I had money. I might get some. I don't know even how much you buy if you want one. Is one $1,000, or is it? Can you buy like a $1 crypto penny? A crypto penny. I don't know. So I don't know anything about it, but what I do know, or what I think I understand, is it's not supposed to be touched by the government. That's the whole point of crypto. It's like the government can't put their stinky little filthy fingers on it. That's the point. So the government shouldn't have anything to say about it. That is the point, I think, which is great. I love the idea, So, but there we are. Okay. I had one more thing to say, and I can't find it. And now I'm not going to get it right, because it was like a sign-off that I had made. Something to the effect of, if you like this video, this podcast, please tell all your friends and your mom, and watch the next one too. Okay, I'm done. Have a good, I don't know if I'll do one of these before Christmas or not. I'll try to. Why not? Why not say that I'll try to? There we go. Okay, goodbye. How do I turn this off?